Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi project. Today I had to put on my old inspiring shirt that says quit your job, buy a ticket, travel the world, and fall in love and repeat all over again. So funny story with this shirt, actually every time I come across it or I put it on, it almost gives me like a boost of like, hey, I'm a badass vibe, because I had bought this. It was one of the signs that led me to initially quit my job and start my own career and do what I love and this whole lifestyle that I love. So long story short, I had to put this on this morning to kind of remind me that I'm a badass, because we've had such a rough couple of weeks with getting the flu with 3 tiny kids. It was a hot mess. Okay. So literally my house was a shit show. I felt like a shit show. That is also why we missed an episode last week, but I hope you guys understand. I'll tell you guys more about it, and I'll go. Actually, today's episode is gonna be more personal. We're gonna do it vlog style, so you guys can check it out on YouTube if you're just hearing about it on the podcast. We'll add some photos so you guys can see how we're doing. But I'm gonna talk all about postpartum, how we're doing, how the birth went, how we're doing with the family of 5 with 3 little kids under 3 years old, 3 years old and under, and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned. I hope you guys enjoy. Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all: family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. So let me start off by telling you guys about the birth. I don't think I talked about it yet, and a lot of people have been asking, so how was it with baby number 3? And those of you that are new or don't know me that well, is I actually did all my 3 births naturally. And let me tell you guys, I'm not crazy. I know the option of epidural, but I wanted to use as little drugs as possible. And partially was because I was a little stubborn. I said, hey, if other people can do it, and my mom has done it in the past because that wasn't an option back then, I definitely can do it now. It was almost like trying to test my strength and willpower, the mind over body aspect of it. And if you guys follow the podcast, you'll know that I'm a big believer of we could do whatever we put our minds to. So initially when I did it with my first kid, mainly it was a choice to try to use less drugs, because I know there's probably some sort of extra benefit for the kid. And I wanted to be up and going right after the birth. I didn't want to wait to have feelings back in my legs. I wanted to get up and go. But it was honestly, half of it was almost like, I'm going to test myself to see if I could do this. It was to push myself to have a challenge, okay? And then, but when I started looking into the benefits of it, there was a lot of benefits to it. And if you're interested, definitely look into it as an option. But yeah, so we ended up doing that for the first kid, second kid, and now the third kid. And my doctor said, hey, be very careful. The third one comes out real quick. And I couldn't imagine it. Honestly, the first 2 births were pretty similar. Thank God, my pregnancies were difficult, the first 2. But afterwards, the delivery and aftermath was really good. So I feel very blessed and grateful for that. And for the third kid, so we actually didn't know if it was going to be a boy or a girl. So that was like our little challenge to keep it a surprise and not be insanely anxious to find out what it is, but also again, to challenge ourselves to do that, and also have that fun aspect of keeping life exciting, to have new surprises. He was a boy. He's born. Those of you that don't know yet. So my third baby's born. His name is Christian Avetis. So we wanted to give him a more American name, but also have our cultural Armenian middle name. And he's actually named after my grandpa, who was a very, very special man that we lost last year, and I wanted to have him be part of that identity. There was also like a cool timing thing to it. Like I got pregnant close to when he died. My grandma saw a dream. My mom saw a dream. I had this weird intuition, gut feeling. Anyways, like all these crazy signs of why he had to be named after my grandpa. Yeah, so that's that. I feel like I'm all over the place. I have so much to share because I haven't really talked about it at all. And now it's been about 40 days since he's been born. He is officially blessed at the church. We did a little party thing to get him out of his I don't know exactly what it is, but after somebody's born in 40 days, and I learned that a lot of cultures do this, we take the baby to church, the baby gets blessed, the mother gets blessed, and that's when we officially can kind of like go out into the world and mingle. Now, I kept that for the baby. I didn't want to expose him to too many things until his 40th. Obviously, I didn't follow it. It's kind of hard to keep me locked in the house for 40 days. But I tried to be present at home and have that special bond with him as much as I can. Anyways, going back to the birth, right? Because that's what we were talking about. So I did natural, I did no drugs. And the best part for me with that is after all the crazy pain, honestly, just that reward of holding your baby and being able to like be mobile and free and walk around is huge for me. So that's like my biggest reason why I love doing my births fully naturally. And also I think there is less complications because you feel it when you have to push. You really feel it. Now, I don't know how it is when you're on epidural or sedated or not sedated. I don't know what's the right word is, or whenever you get more help with drugs, how you feel. I'm sure you still feel the pressure and everything, but just really like being in tune with your body throughout the birthing process, I think helps everything move along faster. And I also think there's less chance of things going wrong. Now, there is a lot of controversies, there's a lot of conversations, there's a lot of things about this, but in my experience, all of that was true. I really believe I had a lot of good benefits, and I had easy deliveries and no complications and not a lot of damage because I did it naturally and I kind of like felt my body. I pushed when I needed to push. Anyways, so third baby comes really quick. They were not lying. We almost not missed it, but literally like people joke around about the baby just being born randomly, but literally I feel like it could have been a story like that because the other two, like it took a lot longer. So this one, my contractions started like the really painful one. So initially you start off with mild contractions, it gets more and more. But the last thing I remember is the doctor checked me and I was still only like 5 centimeters, maybe 6 centimeters dilated. And you don't really like start pushing until you're like 10 centimeters. So they were like, oh, you're fine. Like, and I guess I'm very pain tolerant. So I was dealing with the pain fine, so they didn't think like the baby was already like gonna come out. So here I am, I'm having pain, and then the pain started being really sharp. Then also I vomited from the pain, so that's kind of like a natural way for your body to try to like calm itself down when it's in a lot of pain. And that's kind of my cue. I knew that from the previous two births that like right after that it's really close, like the baby's about to come. So when that happened, I was like, okay, like it's happening, it's coming. So I told my doula, which we were all in the hospital, but they still provided me like a doula because I want to do things natural. But I said, get the doctor, like it's happening. The doctor came, I'm like, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, I just want to push. Like, I just want to push. My body's telling me to push, although it was really quick. And they're like, get on the bed. Because I was, again, I was mobile. The best part about not being on epidural is because I could kind of feel my body. I can move around. I bounced on like the ball. You know, I did like the all modern thing to try to get the baby like down in position and come out as quickly and as painlessly as possible. But anyway, so I almost missed getting on the bed to push the baby, and the doctor like barely had time to put on her gloves and all that stuff, and he was out, and I didn't know. I was like, what is it? Is it a boy? Is it a girl? So it was very like intense after all that pain. But thank God the third time around was more painful, but it was way shorter for some reason. And we did it. Yeah. And then they kind of like showed me his goodies. So I was like, oh, it's a boy. And we had kind of a feeling that it was going to be a boy. So it was kind of cool being right on that aspect as well. But yeah, so that was the birth story. Pretty short from too much detail, but yeah, I think that's all I want to share for now. Of course, there's all the messy, glorious things that we can skip over, but it was beautiful. We just spent one night at the hospital, and then after that I was like, I need to go home. I just don't like being in the hospital. So we just spent that one night. They're like, well, you at least need to stay 24 hours. So I was like, right when that 24-hour mark hits, you're discharging me, doc. Like we're friends at this point. We had like 3 kids back to back together, and with having complicated pregnancies, the first 2, I was literally seeing her like every week. So I was like, you better discharge me. She's like, I can't. You have to be there 24 hours. Anyways, so we got to go home, but at that point I kind of wished maybe I just chilled at the hospital longer, because then we had to face the other 2 toddlers. I was like, oh, what have I done? I should have just relaxed while I had the nurses and everybody else in the hospital. But we went home, and I guess this will be like a nice transition into how the kids reacted to the baby. But we actually got home pretty late. We got home around like 9 p.m. I want to say. And the kids were already sleeping, so we kind of waited to introduce the baby to them in the morning. And I had like a few tricks up my sleeve to make sure they're not jealous. And obviously, like little kids, one of them is my toddlers, one of them's not even 2, and the other one's like 3 years old and a few months. So we of course bribe them with gifts. So there's like things you can do so kids don't get jealous of the baby. So that's one thing. We said, oh look, the baby came and the baby brought presents for you guys. So we gave each of them a present that they loved, and that was from the baby, and that kind of takes the attention away from just the baby and puts more attention on the toddlers. So they were excited about that at first, and they were kind of like not sure what to do with the baby. Now my 3.5-year-old, he was very excited. He wanted a brother, and thank God it was a boy, because if it was a girl, like I feel like we were just gonna have to just argue with him or like fight with him of why we didn't bring a boy and it's a girl, because he really wanted a brother. I don't know why, but thank God it all worked out. But anyway, so he was super excited that it was his brother, and we were talking about it when I was pregnant and the baby, was in my belly. We were talking to him, so he was mentally prepared for all of that. So he took it really, really well. My 2-year-old, well, not even 2-year-old, she was more not understanding, I think, when we were always talking about the baby in mommy's belly. So she was caught off guard. She wasn't really jealous, like she wasn't trying to hurt the baby, but a couple times she mentioned like, baby down, like put the baby down, like stop holding the baby and carry me and stuff like that. But I think it took her like a week to kind of like readjust and be like, oh, I love the baby. And then after that, they both were very, very good with the baby. They loved the baby. They always like hug and kiss the baby. Of course, each kid is different personality. So my son, the 3-year-old, loves the baby and all the time is like, oh, baby, baby, baby. The girl is still a little bit, I feel like, not jealous, but she just is like, okay, whatever, it's a baby, I don't care. I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'm going to do my own thing. So total different personalities, but super duper cute. But thank God, no like real jealousy where they're throwing tantrums and fits and everybody's like finding their place of how to get along. And honestly, my son, he was the first, just super spoiled in a way with attention. I thought he'd be more acting out and like changing his mind about wanting a brother, but he surprisingly sits next to me nicely if I have to hold a baby and feed the baby. Like yesterday, I was so shocked how it worked out, because initially I was like, how the heck is this gonna work out at bedtime? Like, he wants me next to him, but now I have to like be with the baby. So we had made some adjustments to the routine where my husband's more hands-on at bedtime, but literally yesterday he had to, like, he chose to sit next to me in the quiet until the baby ate and fell asleep, which took like 30 minutes. And that's a long time for like a 3-year-old to have patience to just like sit quietly and wait. But I was like, oh my God, like he really loves his brother. Like he's cooperating and waiting. So it kind of worked out there. But we definitely have the days where it's tantrums and nobody's getting along and everybody wants more attention. This last week, the last 2 weeks, I told you guys we all got the flu and kind of at the same time, back to back. It was such a mess. And that's when I questioned my decisions of having 3 tiny kids back to back and maybe possibly wanting a 4th. I say, what the heck am I thinking? Am I crazy? I probably am. Because if I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, that would be amazing because I love kids. But I don't want that. I want it all. Like, I want the full-on career. I want the full-on going out and young life with my husband, and I want the whole family thing. So, and that's what this podcast is about, to try to have it all, but in a manageable, like not wanting to kill anybody type of way. Anyways, going back to how they're getting along, I think that's pretty much all I want to share. There's good days, there's bad days. Each of them are different. I've learned to just kind of like roll with the punches. Definitely. We also had my almost 2-year-old like start daycare as well. So when we're home alone with the baby, if it's me, my husband, or the nanny, it's only the baby. So it kind of really works out that way. Initially, when we did that with my 3-year-old, I was like, oh, I don't know, he's too young to go to daycare. It's better for him to be at home. But we came to the conclusion that honestly, they do so much more at the daycare. They learn so much more. They become so much more independent. They have more fun. So that's what we did with my less than 2-year-old now, and it worked out better. So the baby gets more attention and she gets to be more independent and gets to interact and have a better day outside of the house, where all the attention is on the baby compared to like what she was used to, all the attention being on her. And then of course we do our thing in the mornings and at night, all of us. So somebody asked us, what is it like being a family of 5 for this new mix? I'm going to be honest with you. We found a way to manage it to our best ability now. And I already said some days it's great, some days it doesn't work. But it takes a lot of kind of planning and reshaping our plan to see what works for us, for our family. And that's what I want to share with you guys. Literally, just like your business, just like your personal life with anything else, managing your family is the same thing. If you literally don't sit down and make a plan and adjust that plan until it works, it will drive you crazy. So that's the best thing I learned throughout my life, is anytime I feel overwhelmed, and I've talked about this in regards to work in the past, but anytime I feel overwhelmed where I'm like, something's not working, that's like literally the go ahead light to sit down and regroup and replan. Because if something's not working to a point where I'm unhappy and I'm frustrated, that's my sign to like literally find a better way of doing things. And systems and plans are the best thing to have for work or for your personal life. So literally, even before the baby was born, and obviously I knew this big change in my life was gonna happen, we readjusted like sleep routines, eating routines, like the daycare option. We readjusted things in our lives to get the other 2 kids used to it before the baby came. So when the baby came, it didn't throw things off as much. We have like pretty solid systems in place. Although I learned quickly, when the daycare is not in the picture, when all of them are sick and at home, my system has like a little glitch in it. I need to make sure to have like a backup plan and a contingency plan for when everybody's sick and stuck at home. But anyways, systems are very important. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We literally adjusted our plan of who does what and how to divide and conquer and make changes to our morning routines, night routines, so it works with all of us. So of course there's days where things don't work out and I just want to kill everybody, and I'm sure everybody hates everything, but then most of the time everything does work smoothly, or smoothly enough where it's manageable and we won't say like it's not working. But definitely there are days where we need to take it a day at a time. So I think having very young children that you can't always control their behavior and what they need and your time could get really, really, really frustrating at times. So sometimes like literally I just need to breathe, pray, and say, okay, I just need to get through this day. I just need to get through this hour or moment and know that everything's temporary. Things change, things get better. And that's literally this past 2 weeks when everybody was sick and on and off and this crazy, messy schedule. I had to keep reminding myself, okay, one more day, they're going to get better. They're going to go to school. I'm going to feel better. And I'm going to have more energy to help them. So literally, a lot of deep breaths and just accepting the fact that some days are a shit show and that everything's not going to work out, or maybe nothing's even going to work out, but it will get better, is how we get through it. So before I tell you guys all the crazy changes physically and emotionally with myself and my husband, because that's one of the questions you guys asked, I will tell you guys that you need to subscribe, please. We appreciate it. And also like, follow, share, do all that good stuff. It really helps our channel and this podcast. But another exciting news on that end, we will be launching our Patreon. And like that, we can stay more closely connected. We can work together. We can literally take over the world together. I will tell you guys more about that and how it could benefit you and if it's the right fit for you very, very soon. But stay tuned. We're going to have a Patreon. So now the crazy changes, right? So physically, obviously, I'm not pregnant anymore, but TMI, but obviously things don't feel the same as it is before giving birth. So stomach, definitely not nice and flat and muscular anymore. It did help. Like what I do is I tie it with like those, I don't know what they're called, bandages? No, it's like a waist trainer. Yeah, it's like a waist trainer thing right after birth. So that helps things kind of go back to where they belong, because all your organs freaking move when you're pregnant. So that if you are physically, emotionally able to tie it right after birth, that increases the chances of everything kind of like going back to its place better. Now, I had the physical energy to do that with my first 2 kids. This one around, honestly, I was a very big slacker with it. I didn't do a good job, and I noticed the difference. It actually works. Like, I don't know if it's the 3rd kid and things are not going back to how they used to be as easily. I'm sure my muscles are worn out and tired, but I did notice a difference that things didn't, like my stomach area definitely needs more work. So once I get the clear from my doctor that I can work out, that's going to be physically what I'm going to be doing. Because obviously I still want to go back to feeling my best. And I am breastfeeding. So that other part of me is also not where it used to be. So definitely physically, as women after birth, we need to take those things into consideration. Of course, still try to find a way to love your new body and know that a lot of it's temporary. Things do kind of recover and go back to what they used to be slowly but surely, but it's never going to be the same. Your body's different after having kids, and you just need to accept the fact. If you need to get depressed about it a little bit, go for it. I did with my first one, I was okay. With my second kid, I actually went through a whole thing. It took me a while to feel okay with the changes. With the third one now, I've kind of expected the changes. I've came to terms that it's never going to be the same, but I could do whatever I can about it to feel good enough or happy enough about it. If it's working out, if it's eventually getting some sort of plastic surgery, if I want to do that, great. Those are all options, and it gives me a peace of mind. So that's kind of the physical part hard for me. My husband obviously didn't go through physical changes. He kind of lost a little weight, which I'm a little, jealous of but I'm not jealous of him having to do a lot of night shifts with the baby, and he's more tired. That's why he's losing more weight. But that's that for him physically. But emotionally, I think, again, this time around, we're taking it better. There's a myth where you get more kind of like weird depressed or like more down when you have a girl versus a boy. But in my case, that freaking thing was true. And I have 2 boys now and 1 girl. So with my boys, I never felt as kind of like low. I didn't go through that postpartum depression type of thing where I felt like more low. If it was emotionally or like not emotionally, not also liking my physical body. But with my daughter, I did. So I think it really is a thing. I felt uglier, and they do say like you just get uglier with a girl. I don't know if it's like true in the bigger scale, but for me it was true. So I'm kind of glad this one was a boy, because I feel like it was a little less emotionally depressing for me. I don't know why we go through that, but again, we just have to know that it's a thing. Some people go through postpartum depression, and there's changes, and we just need to find a way to deal with it. But with this baby, emotionally, I'm doing well, thank God. I feel like I'm my chipper self, and I think where we are before getting pregnant or before giving birth really helps too. So I did a lot of self-work, like even before I was pregnant or while I was pregnant, to feel at my best. If it was meditation, if it was kind of like doing things that put me in a happy place, like a vacation, I don't know, like whatever I needed to do. And I think that really helps to emotionally feel better during pregnancy and after you give birth too, because you're already at a good place mentally. So somebody asked is if I forgot how it was to be with the newborn. Although I had my kids back to back, like literally within a year and a half, less than 2 years apart, you do forget. Like literally I was like, wait, how often do these things eat? How much do they sleep? There's no routine. So I had to kind of go back to my notes, and yeah, I'm kind of crazy. I did take notes with my first 2 kids of how things were, so I have a good reference to look back. But I had to kind of like remember, like how often do I feed you? The breastfeeding part, like breastfeeding is not easy, and I don't blame people for not doing it or not being able to sometimes. Thank God I was able to figure it out, but it took me the 3rd kid now to kind of do it more correctly now. I don't know. I'm not going to go into details, but literally there's so many things I could be doing right or wrong, even with just breastfeeding, that should come so naturally, especially now that we also use pumps in order to be able to get more of a break from the baby or go to work. A whole other topic, breastfeeding. But I literally had forgotten things, and I had to almost like ask one of the nurses that specializes in the breastfeeding to kind of remind me that thing that should come naturally, and I've done it for 2 kids. And I was doing it kind of wrong with the first 2 kids. I was actually having pain, and I was just kind of sucking it up. And for that reason, I also damaged my breasts more. So if you're somebody who's thinking about breastfeeding, make sure you do your homework and try to get help with it to not have a bad experience with it. I guess that's kind of what I want to share about that. But it's a thing. It's not easy. And honestly, it's one of the things that I hate, that I feel like is a restraint for me to even leave the house, right? So if I leave the house without the baby, I can't directly breastfeed. So now I have to pump. I have to take all that stuff. I have to make sure I set time apart. I have to make sure I'm going to have a private area in order to do it. If it's in the office, fine. You could find a corner, but you still need to cut out 30 minutes to like 45 minutes in order to fully like do the pumping process. So not easy, right? And we sometimes don't talk about it. We assume like it's going to work, but it takes a lot of planning, a lot of dedication, trial and error in order to make it work. But I'm here to tell you guys, like, if this is what you want to do, you want to have it all, you can do it, right? But you just kind of sometimes have to suck it up and put in the work and ask for help, right? Ask for help. That's the main thing I learned too. So this next question is how I'm managing being back at work. Well, I'm technically not really back at work. I can't say I'm really back at work. It's been about 40 days now that my baby has been born. I made it to the office like 2 or 3 times the first month. Yeah, that's all I was able to do. And I was only here for like 2-3 hours because I still hadn't figured out my full schedule with the other kids, with pumping, with being exhausted, with some sleepless nights. So I will have to come back around to that question when I feel like I'm fully back at work and how I'm managing. Right now, I was barely just able to kind of have a plan to be dedicated to have 2 full days to come into the office. I still do some stuff from home, but realistically, it's almost impossible when the baby's that young. Even with having help, the newborn baby within the first 3 months, they don't have like any solid schedule. Like they can be wanting to eat at any point, wanting to sleep at any point, wanting to cry at any point, or all the points. So it's really kind of impossible to have some sort of a routine until at least a baby's 3 months old. And that's if you're super dedicated to try to put them on a routine. Okay, not easy. So moms out there, I feel you. Don't be hard on yourself, even if you don't have to work for like a year or 2 years or 5 years. Totally understand. Anyways, I lost what I was saying, but how is it back being to work? So right now, this is the beauty about having your own business or having the flexibility with your job. But loving what you do is that you're kind of like pushing yourself to work sometimes when you don't have to work, but you have the flexibility to be able to do it on your own terms. So now as far as work, I've dedicated 2 days out of the week that for sure I'll be physically here in the office, or I could focus and get things done. And when I committed to that, everybody got sick and I wasn't able to do that this last week. Okay. So it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be ups and downs, but I'll keep you guys posted of how it's gonna work with the new schedule. But I'm hoping we'll be able I'll be able to be like back and full force in another month or so. That's what I'm anticipating. But keep you guys posted on that. As far as schedules and work, I do kind of want to go over some logistics. This is how we've been able to make it work, okay? Night shifts, me and my husband kind of split it with the baby. Literally, right when the 2 toddlers go to sleep, what I had done is I had put both of them in the same room so we could do one nighttime routine, and I fully sleep trained them as a toddler to fall asleep on their own after we read the book and stay in bed until it's morning time. And we use a clock that changes color because, little kids can't tell time, but they could tell color. So when the clock is red, it means they need to stay in bed. When the clock is green, they can get out of bed, or it's time for them to wake up and they can come to us. So again, a lot of hard work to train them this way and sleep train them and make sure they follow it. I had to kind of lock my 3-year-old in the room for like a minute and make sure he knows I'm serious about the discipline. When clock is red, he stays in his room. But it ended up working. They were able to pick it up. So we got that to a smooth, with the exception of getting sick and throwing things off, we got that to a smooth process. So they're able to stay in their room or stay asleep in bed from like 8:30 p.m. until morning time. 6:45 is when the clock goes green and they can come. So literally right when they're in their room and already they can't get out, that's when I pass out and I sleep. I sleep like around 8:30, 9 p.m. and then I'm up around 2 a.m. So that's my new schedule. I at least get a solid 5-hour sleep. And then from 2 a.m. until morning, my husband gets to sleep and I'm up with the newborn. I'm hoping this is just, very temporary until the baby's 3 months old and I can somewhat sleep train and put the baby on a schedule. But that's kind of how we're doing it, where there's a will, there's a way. Again, things get thrown off here and there, especially with people getting sick. But that's kind of how we've been able to manage without being super exhausted and not being able to function throughout the day. Well, if you guys are curious about the new baby and what he looks like, we literally did actually do a newborn photo shoot about after a week week he was born, I was super hazy and I wasn't sure what was going on, but the pictures came out cute. So here are some photos that I can share so you guys can see. And also, a couple of days ago, we were able to do the party for his 40th. So that was another huge moment for my family, and I'll share those photos with you guys. I actually have pushed myself to try to kind of like do things even when we don't feel like it, things to celebrate, things to make happy memories, because I truly do believe the more we celebrate, the more we show our appreciation and our gratitude, the more happy memories and happy moments we can share with other people, the better things work out, or the more, I don't know, I believe in that law of attraction thing. So I feel like the more happiness I cause for myself, my family, and for others, the more happiness like will come into my life. So I've been pushing myself, even for me to not feel like doing those photos or doing that party for his 40th thing. I've pushed myself to do it, and I think it works. I think things work out better when we celebrate and we show appreciation and gratitude. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and it was interesting and fun for you guys. But feel free to ask any questions. I'm an open book, and I've worked really hard to try to make the family and work-life balance happen, and I hope I can share through my troubles or my experience and all the craziness that I went with you, if that's something you want to do, and you will have an easier time with it. Well, thank you for listening. And again, go follow our TikTok, Instagrams, everything at the Yegi Project. Bye. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.